Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Take Back My Brain. I am your host, Laurie Hammer, and today I have a real treat. We're going to have a really great girl talk with Megan Miller, and we're going to talk about detoxing off the drug of achievement and how we're addicted to our success and so much more. So make sure you are in tune to this episode because I have a feeling it's going to be life-changing. So Megan, welcome to the episode.
Oh, thank you, my friend. And thank you for having me. Thank you for building this community. When we first connected and I read about your work and with this community, Take Back My Brain, I thought to myself, damn, where were you the majority of my life?
Right?
I just
I know,
thought
I
it
kind of
was the
feel the
way I
same way.
was.
Yeah. There's
Thank you.
We're all coming together and we're attracting, like attract like attracts like, if I can talk today. Right. And so I feel like this is just this will be a great interview because I think we're really on the same page about so many different things.
Don't you love? I was just telling a girlfriend this today. Here's to the wisdom that comes with aging, man. I don't feel that our culture celebrates that enough. I like to call it learning from the life stripes. And
Yeah.
I had said to her today, Laurie, it just made me flash to it as you were talking about good attracts good. The energy of people and becoming aware of that.
Yes.
And the serendipity or kismet, divine, whatever word you want to use, when someone says, I have someone to introduce you to, or read this book, or check out this podcast, there's just something about the words finding their way to you.
They do.
And yeah.
Yeah. I would love to know how you got from where you were till now you're like, I don't care.
Oh,
I'm
God,
just gonna
girl.
be me. I want to know how you got there.
Oh, and you know what's so funny? Well, not funny, haha, but I can look back and think, God, I had no idea who I was.
All about
It's,
identity, isn't it?
oh my God. You know, it's so funny. We talk about people pleasing, chameleon mode, but I don't think you ever stop to pause to think how it's showing up in your life. I never did.
Right?
So, Lori, to answer your question, about 8 years ago, which feels like yesterday, I had a mental breakdown on the busiest highway in Philadelphia. Talk about the irony in that.
Right?
My
Uh-huh.
whole life was kept being busy
Yeah.
so I could get the accolades and the achievement and the validation, and I was addicted to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get the job that I thought would make me happy. I
Mm-hmm.
think we all have those,
Oh yeah.
right? Those
Yeah.
tangible things that you
Like if
think
this
this is it.
happens, then life is just going to be this grandeur, I don't know, like escapade and adventure for the rest of my life if I can only accomplish, X, Y, or Z.
Yeah. And so you spend your whole life hustling to achieve the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get it, you're like, that's not it. So you keep hustling for
Right?
something else,
Gotta
right?
be here. It's gotta be
It's
here.
got to be here something. So for me, or in my whole life, I never felt that I was worthy or good. I always thought that everyone had it figured out but me. And
But you. Yeah.
yeah, I never knew where I fit into the world. Now I look back and see I struggled with so much anxiety and depression, but I stuffed it down. And I did that through the booze, through the food, through the overspending, the loveless relationship, all the things. And when I came out into the world and when I got my job in sales and hospitality sales, Lori, it was the first thing that ever made me feel like I had something to give.
Really.
I was good at it
Mm-hmm.
and I got the praise for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it became a drug.
Yeah. Right. That
Yeah.
dopamine hit, praise can be a dopamine hit. And you're like, I need that again and again and again because you don't know who you are.
Yeah. And here's the crazy thing. I think we all look for these big moments, i.e., my breakdown on
Yeah.
76. But I can look back, Lori, now and I see there were all these little signs every damn day that I just ignored. That gut whisper that tells you that you're on the wrong path, that there has to be more than
Mhm.
this, that's there for a reason. But we're so quick to want to numb it. I was. So as I was in that car 8 years ago, Lori, back to your question on how I got
Yeah.
here, I realized that, oh my God, I'm popping the Lexapro, binge drinking. Everything looks good on exterior
Yeah.
purposes, outside, right?
Yeah.
But I have no idea who I am. and what I want. And I was scared shitless. And so that began the 8-year journey. And I'm still figuring it out on what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And it slowly morphed into leaving the job and starting this movement on intention and micro steps and micro decisions and the stories we tell ourselves. And I was just becoming so infatuated with all of this beautiful content on these things that I was never taught about self-talk as a form of preparation. And I realized that these small little things, Lori, like making one small promise to myself and keeping it,
Mm-hmm.
taking a few moments in the morning before I grab the phone to ask myself these 4 questions, which we can get into.
Yeah.
And then I kept the promises to myself. It's amazing the narrative that began to change in my mind
Mm-hmm.
and how I showed up in the boardroom and how I showed up at home. And that slowly laid the foundation for this movement of
I love it.
intentional living. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because without intention, we just flounder, and then it's chaos, and nothing happens in chaos except more chaos.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. And I'm curious, Laura, if you've had this in your journey at some point, and I don't know if we can ever really pinpoint it. I haven't been able yet to in mine. You sit over in the passenger seat in the car of your life, and
Mm-hmm.
circumstance takes the wheel.
Yep.
And before you know it, you're telling yourself, that'll never work out. I can't do it. It is what it is. There's no good men out there. There's no good women. This job's exhausting. It just is what it is. And you don't even realize how you're just putting yourself in this cage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And not thinking that you can have a way out. I think
Mm,
that is what it is. It is what it is. That's just life happens. This is what it is. I mean, how often do we tell ourselves that, right? And
yeah.
we give ourselves permission to stay stuck in that cycle.
Yeah.
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 So I love the fact that, you're talking about living intentionally with micro steps. And I would love for you to get into that. Like, what does that look like for people who are listening and they're like, I am on this hamster wheel going so fast. And I have no idea why I'm going or where I'm going because I feel like I'm going nowhere because you are. What do
Yeah.
they do to get off the hamster wheels and kind of do that like slow living intentional life? What do you do?
Yeah. And you know what? As you're just talking about that, I flash back to so many times and I still struggle with that. And when you get so busy, there's a lot of resentment that builds up with
Totally.
that and you get angry. And
Yeah.
then there's the shame and the guilt. And I don't think we talk about that enough.
No. Yeah.
So, Lori, to your question on this intentional living and the tangibility of it and the micro steps and what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
What I would love to gift you, you beautiful human that's listening right now, is what I needed for so long. And I still do this. So every morning, and this came a couple years into the practice. The first thing I did was I became very intentional on the content I fed my mind.
So key. Yeah.
Yeah, I never even realized that. So that's something as simple as the music you listen to when you're driving. That's if you get up and you watch the news. That's if you get up and you roll over, you crack an eyelid and you start with your phone scrolling the feeds. And
Mm-hmm.
right, you do that
Yeah.
for 3 minutes. 3 minutes, my friend, and you have a 70% higher chance of having a bad day.
Right. Yeah.
So what I started to do in the morning was so I can become very aware of what I was listening to. I placed that phone in the bathroom.
Good job.
20 Oh
Yeah.
my God, girl, it has changed how I go to
Oh,
bed.
mm-hmm.
It changes how I get up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm no longer scrolling the social feeds at night feeling like crap about myself on why don't I have the kitchen what that she has. Why don't I have the likes that she has?
Right.
The over
Right.
right, the
Yeah.
spending, the emails that is forced away. And I'm also forced to start my day by keeping the first promise I made to myself, which is what time I'm going to get up.
Nice. Yeah.
That's a game changer,
It
I have
is.
found.
It is a game changer because people tell me all the time, I just can't get up because there's lots of physical things going on there too,
Yeah.
but a lot of that is mental emotional. And if you decide you're going to make that commitment, you're not going to hit your alarm 17 times. You're going to get your little hiney out of bed and, do your squats or your daily reading or whatever it might be.
Yeah, yeah. And there's something so psychological about that on when you start your day by keeping your first promise to yourself, how you show up in the rest of the day. And then, Lori, what I do, so this is multiple steps, right? So I became aware first of the content. Then I eventually, a couple months after that, then I put the cell phone in the bathroom. This all didn't happen at once. Then
Right.
a couple months after that, I started feeling better. I thought, what can I do next? Power of
Mhm.
curiosity. And so I started asking myself these 4 questions.
Okay.
And this was the game changer. I still do it to this day, 8 years later. I love to write pen to paper.
Uh-huh.
Um, you don't need to be a writer. I've found that it's amazing who you get to know when you give yourself the sacred space to write.
Oh, I do too. Yes.
Right. It
Yeah.
does, and it doesn't need to be a huge, long, hour-long thing. You can
Nope.
lock yourself in the bathroom and do this for a few minutes.
Yep.
And what it is the 4 questions are: one, how am I feeling today and why?
The why is key, isn't it?
So key. And the other thing I found with that, Lori, is it helped expand my vocabulary
Okay.
around it. Like it gave me the courage to, when someone said, "How are you today?" Instead of being like, "Mad, sad, glad, I'm fine, it's okay, da da da." I found that I was more confident in the vocabulary that I was using, if that makes sense. It
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, it was interesting how I answered the question. Then it was really interesting on how I started feeling at the beginning of asking myself these 4 questions and how I felt at the end of it, the awareness of it.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's the first question. How am I feeling today and why? And if you're struggling with words, just write down the first thing that comes to mind. You can't jack it up. It's you to you.
Right. Nobody cares. It's just you. Yeah.
Nobody's going to read it. Like there were times, Lori, in this practice that I would think to myself, I can't write that. And then I'd be
What if
like,
somebody reads it?
yeah. I'm like,
Yep.
it's me. Um,
Uh-huh.
the second question that I ask myself every morning is, what is one small act of kindness I can
I
do?
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And
huge.
I'll tell you what, Lori, it's been so powerful in my relationships with my honey, with my friend group. You know, I feel female friendships, man, they're the best form of therapy. And I think that's the
Yep.
first thing that goes when we're busy.
Oh, yeah.
And, right. So what that looks like tangibly is, it could just be something, first thing that comes to my mind. It could be this morning, it was, I had 2 friends that popped into my mind, and I wrote myself, I wanted to text them just saying, thinking of you,
Hmm.
less than a minute. It could be something as simple as leaving a love note for your partner. My honey and I travel a lot. And so when I think of him, sometimes I'll write him a little love note by the coffee machine
Yeah.
or in the bathroom, whatever. And then, or it could be dropping a note to the colleague and saying, "Hey, you killed that presentation yesterday," whatever comes to mind.
Yeah.
The third question is, what is one micro step, one small thing that I can do for me that'll inch me towards my goals? I like to call these your shoulds. You
Okay.
know how you say we like to should all over ourselves, like, I should lose the weight. I should put the booze down. I should book the trip. I want to get a new job and da da da. And then you never make any moves.
Mhm.
So let's just say it's that you're unhappy in your career and you know you want to go somewhere else, but you don't know what to do. You feel stuck. A micro step commitment might be that you are going to reach out to that friend that has the job that you're sort of jealous about. Like you were mad when she got the promotion and you're
Mhm.
like, well, why'd she get that? So you reach out to just schedule the 15-minute walk and talk to figure out about how she's liking her job, how she got it. It is the curiosity to reach out to the person that whose post you like. And instead of being jealous about it, saying, "Hey, I really like what you posted. Can we connect?" These small little micro steps to take the assessment. I love the Spark type assessment by
Oh,
Jonathan Fields. That's for anyone who is curious on a career change. Check out his assessment. It's amazing. It might be blocking the 10 minutes to do that. One small micro step.
yeah.
And then the fourth question, the final one I ask myself after I say question number one, how am I feeling today and why? What's one small act of kindness I can do? What is one micro step? One micro step in that'll inch me towards my goals, my shoulds, the thing I'm shoulding all of myself. And then the final question is, what are 3 things I'm grateful for?
Mm.
And we hear that, Lori. We've heard this time and time again, but it's doing it and you cannot be grateful and angry at the same time.
Oh, you can't.
You can't.
No. Yep. And so it totally shifts your mindset. So when you practice that gratitude, right? Like everything just looks better.
Yes. And I wish I could say that I had all this science behind it and there was all this that I figured out. But what I realized, Lori, when I was asking myself those 4 questions, when I was keeping the promises to myself, because that's the other thing, when your day gets busy and people start putting things in your calendar and your kids need the thing and your partner need the thing and life happens, the first person we cancel on is ourselves.
Totally.
Right? Where we say, you know what? I can't do that 10-minute walk today. I got to finish this thing. I
Mm-hmm.
can't take that spark type assessment. The kids need the thing. I got to cancel the doctor's appointment because somebody needs something. And when you start canceling on yourself, man, that grumbling just keeps getting louder and louder. And there's a kindness that begins to emerge in your brain. I'm sure you know the science behind it, my friend, where when you keep the promise to yourself, the self talk begins to change.
Oh, completely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I was experiencing this actually this morning because I was looking at my week, planning my week, getting up this morning. And I'm like, we had some things change for Wednesday and I have a massage scheduled on Wednesday. And I'm like, I should just cancel that because it just make my day go easier and this and that. And I'm like, no, I really need that massage.
Mm.
And, and if I keep putting it off and putting it off, um, there'll still be something else on the next day that I schedule. So, I made that commitment to myself, a few months ago that I would make sure that I get some, body care at least once a month. And so I had to remind myself, just like you're talking about, like I still have to do this because I can't not do it.
It's so funny that you say that. I just was flashing back as you were talking about the massage. I had a girlfriend tell me just a couple weeks ago, and it really hit me. Meg, we are all busy. It's about the choices.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah. And so the next morning, thinking about choices, I had a short window where I could either move my body or I could shower and look prepared for my calls. And I thought to myself, Lord, I don't care what I look like. I'm going to move my body
Uh-huh.
because for me, and I think, and this is another thing I love about aging, the older that I've gotten, it's not about the pant size. It's
Right.
not about the scale. It's about mentally how I feel on the other end of moving my body.
Yes.
Moving your body for 20 minutes, even if you can't do 20 minutes, say 15, 10, just moving your body.
Whatever.
But
Yeah.
20 minutes can cut depression, fear, guilt, anxiety by upwards of 46%. 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah. And so I thought to myself, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to move my body and I'm going to look like crap on my calls. I'm just going to be human.
Right. But it made your calls better, I'm sure.
It did. And here's the really interesting thing that happened: the calls were more human
There you go.
because I showed up more human.
Mhm.
So, my friend that feels that they need to be perfect and polished, here's what I want you to know: there's power in being human, my friend. Progress over perfection. It's a beautiful thing when you can write yourself that permission slip.
Amen. Amen. It's just like even like, I mean, because I work out of my house. It looks like you work out of your house
Mhm.
too. And so people are coming into my home every now and then. I have clients that are virtual and ones that are in person, and we live here. I homeschool. We have dogs. I have a daughter. All those types of things. And I'm like, my house is clean, but sometimes you know what? There's going to be some blankets on the floor when you walk in, and I kind of just gave up on that. Not gave up on it. I gave myself permission. Like we live here. We're not supposed to be in this perfect office. That's why I'm home. That's why I do what I do, where I do, and how I do it. And it just makes it real. And when people come into my home. I just had a client. She's like, I just want to move in with you because I just feel better in your home, you
Mm.
know? And I've heard that so much. And it's just because this is who we are. And, you might see dishes on my counter when you walk in and you can peek around the corner kind of thing. And I just turned 50 this year and I don't care.
I heard so 40 is knocking on my door. And I was telling a
Yeah.
girlfriend the other day that I feel so much freedom with it. Like I feel like my 20s, I was so insecure, still struggle briefly with that, not to the same degree. 30s, I feel it's the life checks
Yeah.
where, right? Who's getting the kids, who's in the suburbs, who's doing
Yeah.
the thing, da da da. I said, and then I said to her, 40. I feel like 40, you just kind of write this permission slip to be you.
Yep.
And she said to me, man, Meg, wait till you hit 50. It gets even better.
That's so true, Meg.
Would I was gonna say, would you say the same?
Oh, completely. I mean, I started giving myself so much more permission when I turned 40.
Mm,
Like, I love to work out. I love to move my body. I hate going to the gym. I don't like the atmosphere. I know some people do, but that's your thing. That's fine. I don't like the noise. I like working out at home. I gave myself permission when I'm 40. I'm like, I am not going back to the gym.
mm,
And I feel so much better. Like, that was it was a huge game changer for me for sure. Because I was like, we have to, instead of what do I really want to do?
mm,
That was a big thing. And then, you have that whole decade, you turn 50, and then like you were talking earlier, wisdom comes and your mindset shifts. And I'm just like, because now it's all about relationships. It's all about, my
mm.
kids are older and, what's the next half of my life going to look like? Because I want to live till I'm 100. So what's the next half going to look like? And, how can I make that happen and create that intention for that to happen? So your message is so good with that. And your thought process on aging is spot on.
As you're talking, Laurie, it made me flash to the power of curiosity. So you
Ooh,
had
yeah.
said, I wanted to move like I always loved to work out. I love to move my body, but the gym wasn't my thing. And I feel, and I've struggled with this, I still do,
Mm-hmm.
that the world makes us feel that it needs to look a certain way.
Yep.
And if it doesn't look that way, then we're screwed up. We didn't get it right. And that just makes me think of, faux self care, right? The world telling you what it should look like. And real
Mm-hmm.
self care is when you give yourself the curiosity and the space to find out what works for you
Yeah.
and keep going back at it until you find something that feels right. And you know that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was talking to a girlfriend the other day and she said, Meg, my entire life I've been hearing about these damn morning routines and working out in the morning and da 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 da. And she's like, we just can't. I got the kids, I got the thing, I can't. And she's like, and I always felt that I wasn't doing it right. She said, and then something happened, and I found time in the day where I gave myself 15, 20 minutes to move my body in a way that feels right to me.
Yep.
And oh my God, she's like, it's a game changer. I get it. And I thought, that's what I'm talking about.
Yep. Yep. And then
Yeah.
you go back to like what we were talking about earlier, things we don't talk about enough, the doing it right.
Mm,
Who's doing it right? Because when we're not doing it right, then we've got this guilt, we've got the condemnation. And when we're filled with guilt and condemnation, that leads to fear. And if you have so much fear, then you don't have the intentional life that you want to live. You can't do the micro steps because you're stuck.
yeah. Yeah. And that's how I feel about the world. It kind of gives me ajita, work life balance. Like,
Yeah.
right, just another way to have you think that everybody got it figured out but you.
Right. Right.
And here's the thing, no one has it figured out. I don't have it figured out. I
Nope.
practice this. We're all just trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I heard this morning on work life balance and I loved it. It was on the Rachel Hollis podcast, and she had just said that, at some points, the scale's going to be tipped one way, depending on the season of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And in other points, it's going to be tipped the other way. And that's okay.
Right.
That is okay as long as it feels right to you when you make any decision in your life. Just to ask yourself, does this feel right to me?
Right. How does it serve you? How does it serve your family? Does it create the atmosphere that you're wanting to create in your life? There's so many different questions to ask. Yeah. Because I don't know about you, but I have forced a lot of things in my life that just didn't really resonate in my spirit. And those never really turned out very well, or it stressed me out so much that I didn't enjoy my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that. I feel that. I feel that. And then also, too, have you found this? There is so much freedom I have found, and it's hard, man, but to be vulnerable, as we
Yeah.
were talking about being human. We love to put a hashtag around it. Hashtag vulnerability is strength.
Right.
And we, right? Like it sounds really easy, but man, it's
It does.
hard.
Mhm.
You're going to question yourself. Like I remember, Laurie, as we were talking earlier before we hit record on the TEDx talk.
Mhm.
And after it came out, Laurie, I sat in my living room with my husband and my parents. Talk about a trusted group of advisors,
Right.
like people who truly love you and care about you. And Laurie, that 15 minutes, I was so uncomfortable. I wanted to throw up. I was like criticizing myself. I didn't want to talk about the talk. I didn't want to share it with anyone. And here's the really cool thing that happened. As people found it, as my friends and family began to watch it, they had shared things with me that I realized, oh my God, I never knew you.
Ah.
And it wasn't until I put down my mask first
Mhm.
did it right others to put down their mask. And you got to be vulnerable with you first, which is why I think those 4 questions are so powerful. Gives you the courage
Yeah.
to get to know you. But I
Mhm.
think when you get to know you and when you begin to show up and you begin to say the things that you're thinking in a way that feels right to you, there's this beautiful gift of people feel comfortable that they can show up in your life too and put down their own mask.
Oh, completely. Completely. I see it all the time. All the time. Yeah. And I think, both of us put out a lot of content. And so the more content we put out, the more vulnerable we get. And I
Mm,
think that attracts people that really want to share because they don't feel like they can share it with anybody else because everybody's, they've got their mask on. There's very few people that you can feel comfortable with. And for some reason, even as a stranger, I just got off the phone with the lady. She's like been following me. She scheduled a free consult and she's like telling me all of her stuff. And I said, have
mm,
you shared this with anybody else? And she's like, no,
mm. That
no.
just made me think about we all have a story to share,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And if you're listening right now and think you don't, yes, you do. And someone needs to hear it. And Lori, as you were talking about putting the content out in our world where it makes you feel that the algorithms equate your worth and the likes and the followers and the things, I still struggle with that. But as long as it feels right to you, if you want to say the thing and you post it and it got one like, you put it out there.
Right. You put it out there and somebody liked it. Even if it was your mom,
Yes.
it's fine.
Yes. Yes. And I
Yeah.
think there's power in that. So back to the questions, if you've always wanted to start the podcast, if you've always wanted to write the book, if you want to start the speaking career, whatever that looks like for you, posting the thing, starting to put your content out there, reaching out to beautiful humans like Laurie and saying, Laurie, I have this great idea and I would love to come on your podcast and share it. That's where you start. And it's
Mhm.
amazing the ripple impact that begins to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can't agree more with you. Yes. So good. So we have the 4 questions that you ask. Then where do you go from there? So you get comfortable in asking those 4 questions. You're doing your micro steps. Then what happens, Megan?
No, I think it's a constant
Constant.
evolution. Like
Okay.
I'm still doing those 4 questions 8 years in. And here's the really cool thing. My goals have changed. What I want has changed. But above all else, it's not about hitting the goals or it's who you become along the way.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's just so powerful. So I would say there's power in the consistency, man.
There you go.
Sometimes I think that we need to feel that we need to add more onto it. Let's add another thing. We got to optimize every second. Da, 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 da.
I'm so
And
guilty of that.
hey, me too. Listen,
Right?
I Oh, God, you should see, Lori. This is my to-do list today, typed out into 15-minute
You
increments.
have a
This is
hard
what
time
kind of
today.
psycho I am. So I am not pointing fingers, my friend, but I think it's so powerful when you can just keep the thing that feels right and create a sacred space for you that feels right. And that'll change as you evolve through time. And
Right,
I would be curious on that, but I would say to constantly, if those questions feel right, if you feel good at the end of the day,
mhm,
keep doing it, man, and see what comes. I think there's this beautiful gift with the power of trust.
mhm.
And I did not feel that until I gave myself the permission slip to fill my spirituality drawer. So I love to say that your life is a 6 drawer dresser.
Okay.
You got your health and wellness, you got your career, you got your relationships, you got your self worth, you got your finances, and you got your spirituality.
Mhm.
And for so long in our lives, myself included, of being human, we have tendency to go to where we're getting the certainty and where we're getting the significance. And so we
Yep,
bypass the rest. So for me,
true.
my work and career, that drawer was so full and everything else was so empty. I'm fucking like dust bunnies in it. And so when I would ask myself those 4 questions in the morning, I would think, what drawer am I most drawn to today? Is it my health? Is it something with my finances? Is it my spirituality? And when I started to put intention and attention into the drawer of life of my spirituality, all the drawers, but the spirituality, whether it be a 5-minute guided meditation,
Mhm.
Wayne Dyer has been my man. Love him, but it's utilizing Google, typing in a 5-minute, 3-minute guided meditation for whatever you need, popping the earbuds in and
Mhm.
listening to it. And for me, that gave me a lot of trust and a lot of courage to not have to have everything all planned out and trust. And I think when you can have that curiosity, back to your original question, Lori, of what's next, when you
Mhm.
can loosen that the grip around the wheel of life a little bit and
Yep.
begin to trust, it's amazing, man, what
Right.
begins to come in.
Oh, that is so good. That's a great word for the day. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
happy to.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause when I was reading through your stuff and listening to your TED talk and, busy being a badge of honor and,
Mm,
you're talking, we grip that wheel so tight because we're so achievement driven because that's what we've made. Our society has made that, and it's taken away from all that relational stuff, even relationship with ourselves,
mm-hmm.
relationship with God, and you know you have to address all of those areas because like when you say you have dust bunnies in them, things get really messy in that area
Yeah.
of your life. You can excel in your fitness, or you can excel in your career, and everything else just kind of goes to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah. And it's easier to ignore it then.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, it's too overwhelming, I don't want to deal with it,
Yep.
and it gets
Yep.
messier and messier and messier.
And
Yeah.
that's why I love those micro steps. Like I was reading the other day when you were just talking about overwhelming, it can. Like I remember 8 years ago, Lori sitting in that car, the $20,000 in debt, the loveless relationships, the feeling like I had no idea what it was, popping the Lexapro, feeling like crap in my body, cut off from my closest friends and family because I wanted to retract from the world versus engage with it. And I had no idea where to start. I never knew that any of this would be in my future.
Sure.
Finding the love of my life, which only came after I began to learn to love myself. But
Right.
becoming debt free, um, feeling in great shape, building this movement that began with the 4 questions and the micro steps. And I think that's actually, I know that is a beautiful way to get you out of the narrative in here that tells you, I don't know where to go. I'm overwhelmed. I'm tired. I'm just going to pour the glass of wine. Forget it. Screw it. I'm not doing it. I'm tired. And it moves you into action.
Mhm.
And that is such a gift to yourself. You show up for everyone else
Show
all
up.
day long. Why not do it for you?
Mm-hmm. I love it. This has been a phenomenal conversation. I so appreciate you coming on, Megan. This has been
Oh, thank you for the platform to do this, man. Conversations like this and the community that you're creating, my friend, are so powerful because I feel that when we're aware, when we know that we're not alone, what a gift we can give to each other in a world that can feel so lonely.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Is there anything you want to throw out the last minute for our listeners? A little nugget or anything?
Yeah, I would say this. This just came to me. Well, two things. One, I would say this just came to me in my little morning meditation, and I feel that there's something so powerful, really felt embedded to me, almost like tattooed on me, and I hope it does the same for you.
Mhm.
Life is constantly teaching you a lesson. And when you look for the lessons and you ask yourself, what is this teaching me? That's the power move right there. So when you feel
Yep.
like you're stuck, when you feel like crap isn't going your way, when you feel like you didn't get the job, you're having the money struggles, you feel like crap in your body, your partner and your relationship is just roommates, the kids, whatever that looks like.
Whatever that looks like. Yep.
Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? And
So
you will
good.
find the lesson.
Yep.
The other thing I would love for you to do, if any of this felt right, as someone who hid behind a mask for the majority of my life, someone who felt that I was alone and I just wanted to retract from the world, I would love to invite you into our tribe, megan-miller.com. That's where the TEDx talk is that Laurie talked about, our social feeds. Check out the podcast. We do a Micro Step Monday newsletter every Monday, one
Nice.
intentional thought for the week.
Mhm.
So come check it out and see what feels right. We would love to have you.
Absolutely. And all that will be in the show notes. And my listeners will get, those of you on my email list will get all of this information about Megan via email as well. So I would suggest following her because I am. And I'm excited to hear more from you, Megan. This has been a great conversation. So thank you so much for sharing your heart and being vulnerable. And, those 4 questions I think will be life changers for people. So thank you.
No, thank you, my friend.
Awesome. And I thank you all for listening. I appreciate each and every listener out there. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, and share this with your family, friends, and anybody you don't like too. So I just want people to follow so that everybody gets, a boost in their life today. So thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.